The Hillman case is really one of the most famous cases in all of evidence law and has remarkable implications for things that are not readily apparent until you start to delve into some of the applications that other courts have identified of the case. So first, let's talk about the case, and then we'll talk about how far-reaching this case can be. So at its basic core, this is a case about trying to identify a body. This is a world in which communication is really poor, and the ability to use any kind of forensic investigation of a body that's decomposed is non-existent. I mean, the way you'd identify a body would be to recognize, either the facial features or clothing or jewelry at this time, because there was no blood or certainly DNA that could be matched, and this death occurs out in a very remote part of the country at this point, and so we're going to have to rely on other evidence to try to figure out, other than the body itself, to try to figure out who is in fact buried at Crooked Creek. So the facts of this case are that two men are in Crooked Creek. One is Hillman. Hillman goes out to try to establish a location for a cattle ranch. And it's his wife who claims that it is he, Hillman, who's died, and tries to collect on his life insurance policy. But the life insurance company doesn't want to pay because they say that there's inadequate evidence that Hillman is actually dead. And so what the life insurance company is trying to do is to show that we're not sure, that more probably than not, this is actually Hillman's body. So they want to show that there's another missing person who was also in that area, whose body this could also be. So how are they going to establish that? So they're offering to show that there were letters from another man who's now missing, who had written back home to his fiancée and to his family and said, "I've met a man named Hillman, and I plan to go with him to Crooked Creek to scout out a location." So the letters are going to be some evidence that that Walters was in Crooked Creek. So Hillman, there's some evidence that Hillman is there, and therefore some evidence that this is Hillman's body. The insurance company is trying to produce evidence to show that this could be Walters' body. So what evidence do we have? It's in the form of these letters. Walters is not writing from Crooked Creek, waking up and writing to his fiancée and his family and saying, "Hey, I'm here in Crooked Creek with Hillman." He is writing, though, saying, I'm in Wichita, and I'm planning to go to Crooked Creek with Hillman. Now, we've seen in other cases that state of mind, and that's what this is, I'm planning to go to Crooked Creek with Hillman. That state of mind is only relevant if it's being offered to show something that is at issue in the case. So is Walter's intent to go to Crooked Creek somehow relevant? Yes. If we assume a person's intent to do something is some evidence that the person actually did it. And that's the proposition for which Hillman stands. That if you can show evidence of a person's intent, that is some evidence that they acted upon that intent. And therefore, it is relevant to show that they did so. And then once you're offering this evidence of state of mind, that's going to be an exception to hearsay. So Walters writes this letter, I plan to go to Crooked Creek. That's then existing state of mind that is relevant to show that he actually was in Crooked Creek, which is very much at issue in this case because we're trying to figure out whether the body is that of Hillman, and there's this other missing person, Walters, who this body could also belong to, or this could also be Walters. So, key takeaway from Hillman, you can use in a case a person's state of mind his or her intention, his or her hope to do something in the future as some evidence that that person actually did it. This particular exception will allow all sorts of things that otherwise look like hearsay to come in, and we'll be talking about those in the class, and you'll have examples on the quiz you'll have to think through.